Good afternoon, everybody. This is Christopher Rose here with Jump Doctors NJ, the sponsoring company that's sponsoring this podcast. And today we have a very interesting guest on our show that's going to actually educate us on a lot of things. So now there's a lot of small businesses out there that may have some knowledge, and what my guest is named Joel Follman from JF Public Adjusters. He is a insurance adjuster and he works in our tri-state area. He owns his own business and he's going to tell us about the pros and cons and give us some tips about insurance and what we should be looking for. And I'm going to hand over the questioning over to Joel and ask him to introduce himself and tell us about your business.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming up.
I'm Joel Follman. I'm a public insurance adjuster. I help out businesses, private residential houses. Basically, what we're trying always to do in every claim before we even start is to make sure that the homeowner or the business owner understands the pluses and the minuses they are going to go into, right? So the concerns always in the businesses when, let's say an Amazon business, we show up to Amazon business and their inventory is $2 million.
So they have $2 million in inventory. So this is a hypothetical situation. So let's say we go into Amazon, they have $2 million in inventory.
We're talking about third party. We're not talking Amazon directly. We're talking about, people who sell third party to Amazon.
Yes.
So their inventory is $2 million, but they only have $1 million in coverage.
Oh.
Now they're going to run into penalties. That's called coinsurance.
Really?
Yes. So if you have a $2 million inventory, you need to have a minimum of $1.6 million in coverage.
And that's part of the regulations of insurance rules, I guess, and law that, if you have a certain amount of, because I'm not into the retail business, but I would have guessed that if I have that much amount of stuff, I'm not allowed to get a lower insurance. The law wants you to get the right amount of insurance for whatever you have. How is that adjusted?
So basically, most people have insurance brokers, so they are supposed to set them up with the best policy possible. So an average commercial policy will have 80% of coinsurance. So that means if you have a $2 million inventory, not to be penalized, that has to be at least $1.6 million. Some people actually have 100% coinsurance. That means that $2 million is $2 million.
Yes.
Like you better have $2 million.
Yes. And why does people do that sometimes? Because they want to cover their butt. They want to make sure that if something happens to their merchandise or anything happens, they're covered.
The reason is why the insurance company is obviously because if people have they don't have enough money, they will be penalized.
Yeah.
So let's say they have damage of $200,000, but now they can get a 30% penalty.
So for not having the right coverage.
Having the right coverages.
So who regulates how that is a rough, I'm in the waste removal business. It's very regulated. To get into the business that I'm into, anybody that knows about trash removal, everybody knows about A901 and the applications and all the regulations that we have to go through. Now, I could just imagine with insurance, there must be so much paperwork and so many variables to, sending somebody out to look at a claim. Let's say, for instance, what I used to do, water, and we still do from occasion, water restoration. If it's an emergency, we are equipped and licensed for that also. So you go to a house, let's say a residential home. They had a big flood from a, rainstorm. Let's say 80% of the basement is damaged, all the furniture. How would you walk into that situation?
So I'm happy you asked that question. The answer can take up to an hour. I'm going to tell you why. Because we had last week, Sunday, not this week, the week before Sunday, a lot of rain. So a lot of basements have flooded. If your basement flooded, if the terminology is flooded,
yes,
then you need a FEMA coverage.
Really?
Because a regular policy will not cover. The first thing, if you look at a policy, it's flood exclusions. You will not. So when water comes from the outside ground into your house, it will not be covered.
Only if a pipe bursts in your home.
So it goes a lot further than a pipe. So I'm actually gonna get there. Water potentially can come from 28 different spots.
28 different spots.
And it has 28 different names. So if it comes in from the roof, it's gonna be called seepage. If it comes from the corner pipe, let's say it leaks from over here, it's gonna be called a pipe. But if it cracks from the middle, it's probably gonna be a pipe burst. You understand?
Right. Yes,
And
definitely.
also a drain pipe can have corrosion. The
Yes.
pipe. So they won't pay for the pipe, but they pay for installing damages. There's also a frozen pipe, right?
Yes, yes.
So there's the policy covers actually so little when you understand.
Yeah, that most people probably don't even call their
When
insurance.
you call the insurance company, I had a flood. The lady puts in and T9 flood is not covered, but it's not covered. It's a water tub. Yes, let's say you want to put the kids in the bathtub and you forget, now water comes out.
Yes.
That should be covered on most HO3s and HO5. You have the special form and the comprehensive form policy. So people go, oh, my house is flooded.
Oh, so wording.
That's not a flood. Wording is the most important. When I see most denials,
it's the wording.
It's the wording.
Wow. So description of, let's roll back a little bit, people, because this is very important. I know a lot of people, including me, I've been in this situation, and I'm sure this is a very hot topic for a lot of people that are going to watch this. That right here, what Joel just told us, is the wording. It's the description of how we say things happen in the house. So I think the best way to resolve that, I guess, is to look at your insurance policy and see and just get really into it. And I mean, how hard is it to dissect these insurance policies? Because I mean, to me, when I look at them, they're pretty big policies. I don't think most people read the whole policy.
Correct, regarding the policy. So obviously, the thicker your policy is, the more exclusions it has. Like Chubb or Pure policies are going to have basically 10 pages. So the bigger the policy, the more exclusions it has. So now where I see a lot of problems in the policy where brokers actually are telling them that it's amazing policies. Most insurance companies have taken out now the last year and a half. It's basically a year, the water backup. So every average policy, special form, how they call it, ISO policies, had at least between $5,000 and $20,000 in coverage. So you didn't need to ask your broker, give me more water backup, because it had automatic coverage. Now you need to ask to add on. If you buy a regular policy, let's say you buy a car, like it's automatically you're going to have now a backup camera.
Oh yeah.
Or
okay.
So basically, a water backup now you need to add it into your policy. In most policies, of course, you're going to tell me like this company, the Hanover, will add it, but most policies you have to add it. Another thing, what I see most companies have taken out is the mold coverage. Anytime there is water sitting a few days, you will have mold automatic. You know, in the insulation, on top of the ceiling, the bottom. So even if they will cover your mold, it's new wording that it has to be hidden underneath the floor. So if you basically see mold right over here, on some companies, they will not pay it anymore. Because the mold is too old.
Yeah.
So it has to be hidden in the back.
Yeah.
It has to be hidden in the ceiling or underneath the floor.
So they want to. It sounds like the insurance companies want to make sure that mold is directly from the claim that it's coming from. If it's too old, it's too late because it was already there in their perception.
I mean, if it's there, obviously it's pre-existing conditions. It can never be covered.
Yeah.
Anyways, but we're talking about, let's say you go on a vacation. You go to Puerto Rico 2 weeks. You come back. There's mold all over.
Yeah.
But now you're not going to be covered because you see it already.
Oh, wow.
So this is where the challenge runs in.
Very interesting. That is very interesting.
So, of course, we're going over again. Everything could be questions, but I was covered. Yes, there's always percentage-wise where they will cover it under certain circumstance.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the policy. If you go to Sage Insurance now, this is how they write it. I'm going to give you a different, even Progressive now.
Yes.
Will not cover any form of drain pipes. So you have the fresh water pipe, and you have the
Why
drain.
do you have insurance now, man?
Because most mortgage companies.
I mean, yeah, that's it.
Right. So you have it for your mortgage company.
That's it, just for your mortgage company. And it sounds like the game is a little bit, uneven there. If you have a home and, you get a policy and you think you're covered and you're paying 10 years, you've never used a claim. And then you would think an insurance company, they would want to please that customer and make sure that everything's taken care of. But they seem reluctant to want to cover things.
To a certain extent, they do want to please. That's why they will cover continuous. So again, let's say you have a little bit of damage here, they will cover the continuous room because obviously you can see that. But when it comes to the roof, where people don't care so much, they will try to pay 4 pieces of shingle. So you have to also understand that they have divided the companies in a lot of small pieces. So the people selling your policies are the most wonderful people out there.
Of course.
But the people running the claims are most of the times an independent company. That has nothing to do with the insurance company. Like Berkshire Hathaway doesn't even have an adjuster. Every single claim you will meet independent company like Pilot or Decker, Sedgwick, those third-party independent companies. So they have no connection to the insurance company. Their job is to try to negotiate as little as possible, as long as the homeowner is happy. So I'm going to give you one example we had right now. So we walked into a house where they paid already $60,000, but that's the company didn't want to pay for the full kitchen. So there's 2 ways. There's a regular kitchen. You go into Home Depot, you can buy a cabinet, but most kitchens are custom. So that means if 2-3 cabinets breaks, you actually have to bring in a custom kitchen guy to make those 2-3 cabinets. But sometimes it's more expensive 2-3 cabinets than replacing the whole custom kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So she needed another $30,000 just to fix those 3 cabinets, and it's $30,000 to replace it. So now the insurance company is like, no, we're paying you $5,000. Find someone who wants to do it.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want to. Home Depot is not going to do it. Lowe's are not going to do it because it's not a standard kitchen.
Sure.
Most kitchens are custom. So the challenge is the policy is very specific on the low settlement, the way they pay. They have a right to replace if it's cheaper. They have if it's repairable and it's cheaper, they can repair it or they can replace it. So most hardwood floors, you can usually sand it. But sometimes when it comes to kitchens, this is where the big battle is. The kitchen is connected to a drywall. If the drywall is wet, the kitchen is going to start growing mold in a few weeks. So you have to take out the kitchen. Now, what if the backsplash breaks? What if the countertop breaks? Just to get to the back drywall that costs a few $100s can break a $80,000 kitchen. Like you as a mitigation company understand, you're between a rock and a heartbeat. So you need to take it out. And now when the adjuster comes, he tells you not to take it out. 3 months later, mold comes. We're not paying. It's already mold. And they're going to blame the restoration contractor. So a lot of restoration contractors these days do not want to pull a kitchen at all. Because they are scared if they pull it, the insurance company doesn't want to pay.
Yeah.
Because how do you safely pull a kitchen? It's almost impossible if the kitchen is 20 years old. They used to glue it back in the days.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be a mitigation contractor more than it is to be a public adjuster because the risk you guys take not knowing how you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
And you need, so let's start with the IICRC that most people don't know even exists.
And what is that called? The what?
IICRC.
An IICRC?
Yeah, so IICRC is basically a book that the insurance company have helped written, lawyers, public adjusters. It's a non-for-profit.
Yes.
They make sure that everybody, that it's what's in there has to be followed. I'm going to give you an example. In the policy, it doesn't say anywhere you need pictures. It doesn't say anywhere in the policy, you as a restoration contractor, me as a public adjuster, as the homeowner, you need pictures. The only thing the policy states, you need to allow us to examine the damaged property. So the pipe is damaged, you got to leave it for the adjuster. But they can deny your claim for not having photos because the IICRC specifies you need photos. So where it's good for them, they'll use the IICRC. 3-day machines. You can only have 3 to 5-day machines. Doesn't say anywhere that.
Oh, and I just want to interrupt that. What Joel was mentioning about the machines is the restoration machines that are utilized, like let's say the big dehumidifiers and the air movers. That's what Mr. Follman's talking about. Is the insurance companies will make up what they believe is the right amount of time that those machines should be there. So if you're a restoration company and you have these machines and your recommendation is that, you should have it there for 4 to 5 days, the insurance company will say, well, we're just covering 3 days.
But remember, when they tested it, the IICRC, they had so many equipment. It's like saying a car can go 50 miles per hour when they test, 50 miles on the gallon.
Yeah.
When they tested it indoor in perfect conditions.
Sure.
So a lot of times it's impossible.
Yeah.
Once you go past 5 days, now they're going to bring in their guns, Wardlaw, Sedgwick, Clear Blue. So this is the challenge when it comes to the IRCC. But when it comes to listening in the other way, like the IRCC used to say, if it's past 72 hours, mold is going to come. Now they change the way that if water is dear, that there is a big potential it's going to turn into bad. More molecules are going to come. So even the IICRC is basically changed a lot. So the insurance company has a certain system. Most restoration estimates will go to a third party now, and a lot of estimates will go to builders, but the process has taken on much more.
Yeah.
So if you take their first offer, that would usually be around 30-40% of the actual claim. We can go in all day how it started. As you understand, insurance is a banking system, but it was changed.
The insurance companies is a banking system.
So they used to pull money. Let's say they brought in $10 million in premiums. They wanted to get 5%. So you can ask a question, why don't they just stay a bank?
Yeah.
Because average banks makes 2%. They used to make 5%.
Yeah.
So they have come to a decision that we make more money in insurance.
Yeah.
But they used to always give 95% back. In 1991, there is a group that helped businesses grow. Now they help American China, McKinsey & Co. I don't know if you ever heard of them. There's a book explaining how they went from, it's called Good Hand to Boxing Gloves, how they went from a banking to a business. So McKinsey in 1991 got paid around $220 million when Allstate was still Sears together, and they helped them. So one of the things they did is, it used to be the desk adjuster and the field adjuster writing the checks at one time. Like you come down, you said, look, I can pay you $50,000. Here is your check. Now it doesn't work like this.
No.
They took out, so there's a field adjuster, there's a desk adjuster, there's a supervisor, there's a regional supervisor.
Wow.
Net gen, just to get paid, you have to go to 5 levels.
Yes.
And everybody can cut your estimate by whatever they want to. So, but when they used to be a bank, they used to pay out faster.
It just seems like, not to cut you off, it just seems like the system over the years changed. The more bigger they became, the more money they have, gotten and powerful they had. Looks like they just made the rules up for themselves. It kind of sounds like
Correct.
It's more in their favor. And I know a lot of people go through. I've heard stories that were just terrible with people's losses and the bureaucracy with the insurance companies that they have to go through.
The first problem we're running into, the amount of time they can take.
While you're waiting and the house
Correct.
is all broken and they're making you wait.
Correct. There's no, in New York and New Jersey, New York has great laws to protect, but there's no one to enforce it. So in other words, even if they delay, there's no bad faith to punish anybody for delaying. Wow. New Jersey has basically nothing. It's the homeowner is not protected a lot by the state. So the challenge is we're running into, if an adjuster wants to delay 2 months, there's no consequence beside the homeowners being met. So we as public adjusters are there to try to push filing maybe complaints with the state or sending a proof of loss, depends on the situation. So
it sounds like, for somebody should have you. So as a person to help them get their insurance, because you're a public adjuster, you're trying to push these companies to pay out and do the right thing, and that's what you do, right? Like pretty
Correct.
much.
So obviously, to hire public adjusters, also important that they have a passion for that kind of claims.
Sure.
Like I told you, we don't take all kind of claims. There's claims you must really have a knowledge to understand, just like water. So we have.
And you were telling me you do the 3 things, the 3
I try
claims.
to focus on 3 things. I obviously do also businesses like I did now in Brooklyn, third floor, a business like Amazon, and we got them over $500,000, and we were able to fight the co-insurance on that too.
Nice.
So we have proven that they're wrong with their calculations, because when it comes to give you co-insurance, they will raise the prices that high. But we had a claim with them 2 weeks before, so we showed them both estimates. Which one is
Wow.
accurate? So you want to penalize, it's going to be high, and when you don't want to pay, it's low. So we sent it into the adjuster and showed them that look, and he said, okay, you're right. So there was no penalty on that.
So it sounds like the public adjuster is the enforcer.
We cannot enforce. So basically what a public adjuster is, you can call it advocate, you can call it help. We basically here to try to help the homeowner, but there is the biggest issue obviously is understanding what's in the policy.
Yes, that's what you're going to
So-
help with. You're going to help us understand the policy and then see what loopholes that they're using, and then see what, what is our true rights in our policies that we're not 100% getting.
Correct. So if you want to get 100% of your money, it's going to take longer.
Yes.
I mean, I know some Florida companies that their average claim will take, I don't even want to say it, take close to a year.
Wow.
I don't agree with that
Terrible.
method, because
How do people get paid?
obviously, if you go for the lowest amount, I know people are going to tell me, I got paid in 2 weeks. I'm telling you 100%.
They got the
You
most
got paid.
cheapest.
There's almost no way to get paid that quick, not taking a huge pay cut.
Yeah. Yes.
For some people tell me, look, I can do it for 40,000. I know it's $100,000 estimate, but I can do it for 40. So now, if you're willing to take a cheaper contractor, or you're willing to do it yourself,
You pay for what you get.
so again, I understand, but we have to write up the estimate how much it's going to cost now to
Yeah.
fix. So if they delay 6 months, now we really have to focus with inflation, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
Wood, if you have now sheeting, and wood is going up to $75 to $100. So you always have to focus when they're getting paid. Is it enough on that month to do the work? So
And how long have you been doing this?
obviously my family in general has been almost 33 years in this business.
Nice.
And
We have,
Oh, I'm so sorry. We got a question. All right.
which is kind of tying to what you were asking. Joel, can you tell us about your journey into becoming a public adjuster? What inspired you to choose this profession?
The journey in a public adjuster is actually simple when it comes to the state laws. It's like learning how to drive a car. It's not that complicated, but really understanding the fight. So before I became a public adjuster, it took me a full year of practice, and I can use a lot more practice. So I wasn't one. Once I passed my test, I started. I took classes like Carl Spoon class was a good class. I took Matthew Mulholland a few classes. Vince Perry's out there on YouTube. I took his class. So there is classes now. So when I started, there was absolutely no classes. People did not want to share information. So Carl Spoon was the pioneer in actually. So basically, when he was the first one willing to share, everybody was like, wow, why? Why would you do such a thing? Like what I'm doing right now is actually not the norm, just a public adjuster to start talking.
Yeah.
So,
and this is great because this is educational for a lot of people,
Right.
man. Because people are so busy and they're so caught up with their lives, and to have somebody like you come in and it's like decluttering their policy.
yes, we'll talk that. So what inspired me to be a public adjuster? That's actually a funny. So we did actually driving school for 40 years. We had 7 cars on the road, and I needed a job where it pays for what I like to do.
Mm.
How can I get paid for arguing? Like, you don't want to argue only in the bar, right? You want to get paid for it.
Yeah.
So
If you're a good author.
so I figured out that I can get paid for arguing. So being an attorney
Nice.
is too long going to
Yeah.
school.
Sure.
And being a public adjuster is, plus my family was in the business, so I knew what it was. If your family is not in the business, you're not going to know what insurance adjuster is, a public adjuster is, restoration contractor, you probably saw 3 times on TV. If you have something called Serve Pro, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to see a lot. So to be a public adjuster, you gotta have a big stomach, because if it delays the claim, the homeowner's gonna know why you're working slow. So we always make sure in the 10 days, the insurance company's gonna have everything. They're gonna have the estimate, they're gonna have the photos, the moisture map, the dry logs, anything to make their coverage decision. If the estimate is too high, I need to write the estimate. I cannot the customer let me sue. I'm gonna give you an example. Maybe it's not good, but I'll still give it to you. I had in East Orange, New Jersey, a claim. But the homeowner is really mad that my estimate was $250,000.
They wanted more.
They wanted less.
They wanted less.
They believe if the estimate was only $150,000, that the insurance company will approve it much faster. My question is very simple. If you go to an attorney and you tell them that my estimate was $100,000 less, would you have sued me on my E&O policy, errors and omission?
Depends, you know.
The answer is 100%, because it's your fault. You knew that the estimate was supposed to be $250,000. Why did you write it for $150,000? What do you think the judge is going to tell me? I was negligent, right? You knew. So, yes, we can cut some of the stuff. I'm giving you an idea. Let's say your place has a claim. I can cut the packing out. Like, you want to pack your TVs yourself? I can say.
And this is all in the argument of getting paid faster.
Some people believe the less it is, the faster you're getting paid.
So so you're making an example right now, hypothetical example. If I say, listen, Joel, I'll pack everything. If this will move my claim faster, I'll do all the, little stuff that, I don't want them to do, and I can get the check faster. That's what this is pretty much about.
Correct. So some people wanted the claim to go fast. So sometimes they wanted to go so fast that there's no point of hiring me. We had the East New York guy called, next to Prosper Park in Brooklyn.
Yes.
So we were next to Prosper Park. I believe the fire was 1.2 million. He wanted the fire to finish, so he took 460,000 with the release. You know what the release is? You cannot go back. It's like 9 pages.
Yeah.
That's all you're getting. So they offered him 430 when we were called in. I had a look at the fire. I said, look, this is 4 floors on a brownstone.
And a brownstone in Prospect Park.
It's a full gut, everything.
Yeah.
You just did renovations. You know how much every floor costs. So for you to take 460, so it's 430. Wow. So the insurance throw another 30,000, but you have to sign a release. And he signed. So you
can't fight that.
I'm not going to tell the guy, look, it's going to take another 3 weeks. I'm not going to lie to him.
No.
So I told him 100%. If you need another $700,000, this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm going to take 460. I'm going to release. And this is what he did. I'm not going to call the guy any names, but it's like, you leave. If I tell you, look,
you left money on the table.
6 months from now, you're going to have right over here an envelope with 700,000.
Yeah.
Would you take it?
Yes.
But he didn't know how to answer that. I was like, it's 700,000. Let's say he would have gotten only 990.
Yeah.
He still left $500,000 on the table.
Exactly.
So
it sounds like you deal with a lot of different characters and impatient and people too. It sounds like a lot of people also are not super educated on their policy, and this is why public adjusters like yourself is important to this industry, because there's nobody in the industry to enforce it. It sounds like as you explained, and there's nobody to really explain it 100% because of how big these policies are. You just believe your broker, like, okay, this is what it's going to cover, this and that. I'm safe. Yes. And then when something happens,
we just talk about brokers 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to get weird. I just need this to put it on Facebook.
Sure.
Okay. Brokers going to hate me from now on. So it used to be very simple. Brokers used to be helping the owner, right? So that means, how does brokers get paid? They get paid the commission based on the premium they bring in. So let's say a broker used to bring in $50 million. So they on average get between 10 and 20% of the commission. So what they have started to do a few years from now, I don't know if it's 4 years, some company, 3 years or 6 years, that the more claims. So brokers used to go into a broker. He used to recommend a public adjuster back in the days or a mitigation contractor. So what ended up happening, they have right now a limit how much claims they could have,
Oh,
and that's
really?
money. So
Wow.
I'm going to tell you the broker who called us a few weeks ago. So basically, they are allowed only to have, let's say, $2 million in losses. Let's say I'm not exactly how it works, but I know they have a loss ratio. So $50 million in claim, let's say it's $2-3 million in losses. So let's say there's a big fire. Now it's $1 million loss. So he has only now $2 million remaining. So we had a broker calling us up a few weeks ago and saying, look, 2 of my clients, you did a claim because by the closing, we got a letter. You got for both fires, usually the same fire, an average person gets 300,000. You got them $500,000. It's a few $1,000s up, few $1,000s down. But when you combine the 2 fires, you only left me with $400,000 to $500,000, and we're only in May.
Yeah.
So he's going to lose bonuses and some premiums. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
So this is the problem. The insurance company wanted an incentive when you call your broker to say, don't make a claim. Believe me, 50% of claims we don't take on because it needs to be a certain amount of money, a certain amount of deductible. If your deductible is going to be $2,500 and your claim is $3,500, do you really want to wait 3-4 months for $1,000? The answer is no.
No.
And I spoke to a big New Jersey insurance adjuster. He has over 20 people in the office, between 20 and 25 people. And he was like, look, if I have you, I'm going to lose the bonus, $250,000. So the interest right now is to say every claim is low. Do not claim. I'm not saying a fire, no broker is going to say not to claim. My problem is when a person has a legit pipe burst, 2 floors, why do you tell the person not to claim? And if you are claiming, use my guy because he is going to do the cheapest job just because we need to make sure I'm still getting the bonus in the end of the year.
Wow.
A claim is a claim. It means if it's a $100,000 claim, you should get $100,000.
Yes.
If the claim is $50,000, you should get 50. If the claim is $1,000, you should only get 1,000. But do not work against your client who is paying your salary.
All because you have to get your bonuses.
Correct. And some people work on commission. The more claims, the less your commission. So some big ones don't have the commission, will have the bonuses, but not the commission. Some people will have both. So the higher the claims are, the less commission. Another thing that I saw is when it comes to adding on in the policy, jewelry,
yes,
watches, I think that's not good because let's say you lost a nice piece of jewelry and you make now a claim for $20,000 for the piece of jewelry. Now it's a strike against your homeowner's policy. You want to combine your watches, your jewelries, your silver, your gold with a different policy.
Do you hear that? So you want to get a separate policy for your jewelry. That makes a lot of sense.
Correct, because it doesn't make sense if you have earrings for $7,000. Now you have a strike.
Yeah,
so
and now your stuff goes up.
Now your premiums are going to start heading up, and you see it a lot in car insurance. I don't get involved, but my friend, people who live in Florida, they have the window insurance.
Yeah,
they do 2-3 claims on windows. Now your premium is $20,000 a year in Florida. What did you have? A $2,000 window, a windshield. So I believe window should be separate. Leave your car as your car. Window should be a separate company. Leave your homeowner's policy with your homeowner's policy. Do not get strikes against your policy. If you
that's good advice. That's great advice. That really is. That's like helping people save money.
Correct, because you'll see yourself with a $10,000 premium. It's like, what did I do? I did my earring. I did my painting. And it's like, no, you had like 4 claims and you're in the red in policies. You have too many strikes. So I see brokers doing it over and over, and they know it will affect. Yes, I do understand companies like Chubb will force you to put at least one thing on there, or painting, jewelry. Again, to people who have it, don't mind. But a basic, it's much easier if you have just those smaller companies. Like you will not put your traveler's insurance on your homeowner's insurance, right?
No.
So I think your silver and gold, your jewelry should be on a totally separate policy. So
that sounds good. I like that. That is definitely a good a good way of doing it because you'll definitely recuperate your money faster. You don't get the strike, and at the end of the day you make out.
And you also, when you buy your jewelry, you need to make sure that you have a recoverable. Let's say your jewelry when you bought it 10 years ago is 20,000. Now with inflation, is some diamond necklace now starts by $15,000. They used to be $7,000 a few years ago. So you need to make sure is the replacement cost for how much jewelry is right now. And you also need to make sure you have the receipts.
Yes,
because
keep your receipts.
You will go under investigation. Usually you will go in SIU or EUO.
So and could you explain that to us?
Yeah, so SIU is in the insurance company, you will have a certain group of police investigators called Special Investigation Unit, SIU, Special Investigation Unit, where they will make sure that you're not desperate for any money. They will actually look at your credit score. Why do you make a necklace? Maybe ask someone to make a hold up, and now you can claim $40,000 on a piece of jewelry.
Sure. And that happens
so you
all
can
the
pay
time.
your bill. So anytime a jewelry, the chance are really high that it's going to go to SIU, and it could actually go to EUO. So EUO is more like you have to swear that you're going to tell the truth. You go in front of a lawyer. It's more like deposition. They'll keep you 3-4 hours asking the same question. Did you buy anything recently? Did you have any debt recently? Do you owe any money for anybody that we cannot see on the how they call it, on the credit karma? Like, is there something else that we don't know?
Yeah.
And they will ask you 10 different ways the same question. So if you have jewelry insurance, the chances of you going to SIU in the insurance company or EUO
higher
is really high. So you need to make sure that you can prove that you actually own it. Or if someone give it to a present, let's say, God forbid, your parents die, and you, like, we know the source where you got it. You just didn't steal it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not paying, like you stole it or something like that.
Yeah, like you didn't set it up yourself, and you know. We got a question?
Yes.
Nice.
What should homeowners or business owners do immediately after they experience property damage?
Obviously, in the policy is you have to report it right away, but I would highly recommend to speak to a professional who understands the business. I always say it's not always the public adjuster, the right one. So you have to call a few public adjusters. Every public adjuster has a different method, and we didn't speak about that. There is the aggressive method. There is the regular method. There is a lot of method to report a claim. I'm going to tell you in a minute how the different methods. So when you have a loss, the best thing is to make sure to speak to a professional. So let's say you have a water loss. Don't run right away to Serpro. Call a family-owned company, someone who has the interest of the homeowner.
Yes, local.
Because the second you call a big national company, they know the desk adjuster. And the desk adjuster will tell them, look, don't touch the kitchen. Tell them it's dry. 4 days later, the kitchen is dry in the front, but not in the back. But the homeowner doesn't know. So it's very important to call a family-owned company. Yeah, we had it in Jersey City with Serpro. Yeah, so it's very important. Call a local restoration company. Call a public adjuster. I mean, you can call us. You can call a different one. You need to feel comfortable with the person you work with. I need to feel comfortable the person I work with. I don't take sometimes client because we don't speak the same language. Like, I understand that you had now $1 million claim, but there's a process what we need to go through. It's not like you're going into the ER and you're getting right away a surgery. So it's.
Oh, you don't work for them. You mean not the same language as far as like, them talking of their case.
I mean, I it's some people want us to be a certain way. And we don't work that way.
That's what you meant by like we're not speaking the same language.
I'm going to give you a perfect example. You walk into people last week and they have the flood problems. So in the back, a few years ago, I used to be nice just to show up. But I used to show up. Why don't you say it's a pipe burst? Because it's not.
You're keeping it honest.
Yes. So that's I'm not doing any claims when water comes from the outside, anything illegal. If the pipe is there, the pipe is there. And if it's on the outside, I'm not doing. So
So you have ran into particular customers that would ask you, "Hey, listen, do me a favor. Could you say this instead of that?
Yes.
And I'll do this and that." And you are the type of person that's like, "No, I'm not going to put my career on the line. And I mean, this is my job."
It's not only career, it's insurance fraud.
And it's insurance
It's a
fraud.
felony.
It's a felony.
And the problem is that we run again, your premiums will go up for other people.
Yeah, that's what I
Because
want to
even
ask
if you don't claim, so the way it works in zip codes. So even if you didn't make 40 years of claim, your policy could technically go up for a few reasons. One, it's inflation.
Or
right?
where you live.
Where you live. So if people put a lot of bullshit claims, everybody's going to pay for it.
You know, I got a perfect example for you. So in the 1990s, New Jersey was the #1 car theft capital state in the world. Actually, like it was the #1. Newark, New Jersey, North New Jersey was the #1 state. New Jersey was the #1 state for car thefts. I mean, it was just out of control. You know, it has a lot to do with, you know, we have the what do you call it, the ports and Port of Newark and all these places people buy cars and send them to other countries. And insurance in New Jersey was so high, even though, so it definitely, what you're saying coincides with my experience growing up. As times change, GPSs are in cars, insurance now has gone down in New Jersey, full coverage and liability.
So I'm going to give you one other example when it comes to, so there are some mitigation companies, they want the desk adjuster's permission before they start doing any demo. Challenge is, we're past that stage really. The IICRC, when you're licensed with them, you're supposed to know what needs to be approved and what doesn't need approved. So if you put the moisture reader as 999, you have to do what 999 tells you to do. So now we're starting with two kinds of companies. The one company doesn't want a demo because they're not making money on machines. So they only do a 2-foot flood cut. So they'll try first to dry it out. So there's so many ways from drying out from running a claim. You know what the fire, they usually bring in a cause of origin. You know what it is?
Yeah, I know what it is.
So the cause of origin will take usually 2-3 weeks.
Oh, the cause of origin. Okay, yeah.
Cause of
or
origin.
origins.
Yeah, so
yes.
they bring in their own fire investigator.
They have to find out where it began.
Correct. So the challenge is that you're running into, the fire department spray a tremendous amount of water. So the chances of you getting mold is tremendous after 3 weeks.
A full gut out there.
So the problem is, if you don't start to do demo on the other floors, you will get mold all over, right?
Yeah.
So now we're running into the problem. Who do you think the insurance company is going to blame when the mold comes?
Oh, they're going to blame the restoration company.
Correct, because why didn't you do? So this is the problem. So when you're waiting for, you might get burnt. When you're not waiting. So when you're not waiting for, they're going to say, oh, we don't pay it because we didn't agree. But now when shit happens, like, why did you wait? So there is no way.
This is a live office, as everybody knows. We're still a business, and sorry about all the phone calls, but this is great, Joel. Definitely.
So I'm gonna show you a fire 3 weeks later. Sorry, folks. You see here all the mold?
Oh wow.
So because they were waiting for the cause of origin to open it up, and this is and this is obviously the subfloor.
That's the subfloor. So the picture I just seen was a subfloor. That, could you explain that picture?
So basically, a fire happened in New Jersey, and the insurance company brought their investigator, and that mitigation contractor was like, we're waiting for the desk adjuster. We do not touch anything without the permission. So the desk adjuster was like, you don't have permission. We cannot give you permission until the cause of origin is saying it's a legit claim.
They sprayed everything everywhere. And
so again, we were waiting 3 weeks for the CNO to say, look, it's a good kosher claim. Now the desk adjuster gave us a permission. So when we went in on Sunday, the whole house was full of mold. So right now we have about $150,000 mold on. So from a simple fire claim to now it's a mold claim also. So now we have a water claim, fire claim, soot claim, and mold claim. We have 4 claims on one. So you understand? So this is where the challenge happens. If we wouldn't, I understand not to start where the fire started, because we need to preserve that room. But there's the other 95% of the house that needs to be mitigated. I know some people can start arguing. Yes, I don't wait. I don't wait. Public adjuster cannot force with who the homeowner is going to work with on mitigation.
That's so wild to me to hear what you're saying, because I just cannot believe, like, the company knows, like, the longer we wait, the more chances this is going to happen, and we're going to have to cut. So it's kind of like putting your own foot in your mouth in a way, like,
But they try to not to pay
yourself, and then they'll try to make an excuse not to pay it.
Correct. Because
So
we waited.
So as well, you've been in this business for obviously so many years. You grew up into the business. Your family, you said your family was involved in
So
the.
basically, it's not basically my father and mother involved in the business. What I'm saying, family, because we are close. I do have cousins in the business.
Yes.
For 33 years. My brother-in-law has an upstate New York, a big mitigation company. They're averaging around $24 million a year. So a decent sized company for
That's
upstate.
a pretty decent sized company, yeah.
So they are in the business. He's in the business close to 9.5 years. I'm a public adjuster almost 4 years. I worked a year before a little bit in the restoration, seeing if I like this industry or not.
It's a difficult one, man. It just has no regulation on it. It's just like, it's a wild cat. Anybody can do it. Like, anybody could just buy. Like, that's why, I mean, we do provide those services, but we are more junk doctors than Jay. We're more of a trash clean out service for people that have hoarding. I'm sure that you've been in houses where you've seen hoarding. Like, that's just like, wow, this is a fire hazard. We work closely with fire marshals that do inspections of fire inspectors and real estate agents and contractors. And they call us up. They're like, hey, get all this stuff out. And we're licensed to dump it. And then we stay away a lot from the water restoration, unless it's simple and something that we can do. We do it. They're like a basement clean out, flood out. And we try not to get involved with insurance companies to get all these complications too. If the customer say not paying straight out because I'm not going through my insurance, or the insurance gave me a check and told me to go with whoever I want to go with. But it's a very complicated business because it's not regulated. It's like there's nobody like there's no rules.
There's technically rules, but
it's not enforced, man. Anybody could be a water restorator. Anybody. You could buy the equipment.
Yes. The biggest challenge that I see is every single contractor believes they can do mitigation, but they all quit in 2 months because most rebuild guys get paid once the job is done.
Yes, they have to wait 30-day net,
now,
90-day net.
They have to wait 30, 60, 90 days. And it's like, oh, we don't have money. So the restoration contractor takes almost all the time 100% risk. Because
all the time.
If it's denied, how do you go after the homeowner? Remember, there's a statistic that most people, I don't remember exactly where I saw it. Most people don't even have $1,000 in the bank account.
Oh, no, that's a huge statistic in America. The majority of Americans, and I heard this like 3 years ago. I was shocked, but they said that like the majority of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their account.
So let's say the claim gets denied for every reason.
And that's
So let's say your bill is $7,500. What are you going to sue someone who doesn't have $1,000 in their account?
And they take advantage of that situation.
So the restoration takes all the risk. That was one of the reasons I did not open a restoration contractor, because let's say a fire. I'm going to give an example where we had a legit fire getting denied. Wait for it, you're going to love it. So we had in East New York a fire. In New York State, there is a rule that any house can technically turn into a homeless shelter.
Any house can turn into a homeless shelter.
In other words, you call up the government, I'm willing to give away my house. You don't need a specific area. So you can walk on the street and there's like 5 homeless shelters. You're not even knowing. I mean, the homeless shelter gives them, go sleep there, go sleep there. They give away beds. Like every room has 1 or 2 beds. So there's one specific company asking you on the application, is there a homeless shelter on your premises? And they answered on the application, no. But when the fire happened, there was clearly homeless people all over. So they denied the claim because you lied on the application. So it was around $350,000 to $400,000 fire. And where they did deny the claim, and the restoration took $110,000 loss.
That's really that right there. Why doesn't the state step in? Because that company is paying the state income tax, sales tax,
reality,
like who is going to? So we're supposed to go to the civil court.
No. I agree with the insurance company 100% because you have to realize they
That
had a
gets me
private insurance
very
broker.
angry, man, to hear, man. That's terrible.
So let's go back the steps how this could have been avoidable. So the insurance broker wanted to get a good premium, right? So he wrote no, assuming that fires only happen 1% from 1%, like almost nothing. But now when the fire happens, he lied on the application. So when the insurance,
So the insurance adjuster did the lying.
no, it's the broker lied in his application.
The broker lied in the application,
Yes.
saying there's no homeless shelters on this street
premises
or on the premises.
on that specific building.
Wow.
So
And there was, and he
there
knew.
was, correct. So
So it's thinking like, what's the chances of this going on fire?
correct. It's very low. It's
Yeah.
99%. Take that percent and split it to 1%. Fires.
So he hit the lottery.
So basically, the way the owner was supposed to do it, but he didn't want to. Every broker and most public adjuster have an insurance policy called errors and omissions.
Mm,
So the owner was supposed to sue now
the broker.
the broker for lying on his application.
And that takes monetary funds.
That takes a lot of guts because isn't the broker your friend? So the broker was supposed to convince him not to sue. But they didn't sue in the end. But the restoration contractor didn't sue either because he was involved in that community and he felt that suing that specific broker and a homeowner will, I mean, we're talking about a homeowner who has 20,000 units in New York.
Sure.
So no one wants to mess with a guy who has over $1 billion. So
Sure.
he did not sue.
Wow. So the small guy gets taken now and he gets taken advantage
So the
of.
way they cut a deal is like the next 10 claims, they're going to be on the jobs. And he kept his promise. That homeowner took
So kind of like a pay to play kind of situation there.
And even the rich guy doesn't want to write now $110,000 check. So what I'm saying, where an insurance broker can mess you up is in tremendous amount of like,
Yeah.
if you don't understand.
You don't understand that policy, he could mess you up bad.
I'm going to give you a perfect example, like a service line. You know what a service line is, right? Between your house and the city,
Yes.
there's a sewage called a service line. Most Staten Island homes, that pipe is over 50, 60 years old.
Yes.
So it will start breaking, cracking. So you can add insurance called service line, right? A lot of brokers do not add it.
They don't even add it. They keep the premiums down.
Correct. They keep the premiums down. So you're talking about,
So they could just get that sale. Wow.
but some brokers
Man.
need to understand, look, this is Staten Island. Staten Island, there's a lot of broken service lines. You need to understand the broker that sells you a policy, what area it is, not just a flood zone, sell them a FEMA policy. If this block is prone to flooding, even if FEMA didn't say, so even a homeowner needs to understand, yes, FEMA doesn't pay a lot, but when you have a problem, it pays enough.
Mm.
So it's hard to be a broker because you need to understand different. Some people sell in Florida and they don't understand the Florida market. Florida is a separate wind coverage, separate flood coverage, and a separate policy, right? And it starts by almost $4,000 a cheap policy.
What does it take to be a broker? I mean, like what kind of qualifications do you need?
So in New York State, they have a test. Department of Financial Service gives them a certain test. And then there's a broker and then there's an agent. There's difference. To be a broker, you need a special license.
Sure.
People will work under you.
Yeah.
And if you're agent, it's an easier test. You don't need to understand. They basically ask you what's the difference between HO1, HO2, and HO3. Obviously, HO1 doesn't have a lot. It's only 11 things that covers
Wow.
fire, wind, hail. But even wind, we're talking now, if the wind is very strong, you're going into a hurricane deductible. So most policies, if it's over 75 miles per hour wind that we had a few weeks ago, you know, Jackson, New Jersey, a few weeks ago had the big tornado with the storm.
Mhm.
So a lot of claims we couldn't take on because just deductible was tremendous. We saw policies, if it's over 72 miles per hour, it's wind deductible. So the claim is $50,000, but he has a $38,000 worth of deductible, right? You know how deductible. So how it works is hurricane deductible is between 1% and 5% of the value of the house.
Yeah.
So if your house is $1 million, 1% is decent, but if it's 5%, you're right at $50,000. So it's.
But that could come off at the back end, though, right? Off the actual money that you're gonna get.
Yeah, but even if it comes off, so let's say you're getting a $50,000 check, but now $38,000 is going to go. So the PA has actually worked now for $1,300 because you cannot legally charge them for the deductible.
Oh, wow, that is amazing.
Question, how does the process differ from when dealing with different types of damage like fire, water, wind, or flood?
I mean, it's tremendous just the way you get the coverage. There's about 7 ways to get coverage. So for me as a public adjuster, the way I work in my process, the first thing I want coverage. I don't really care how much they offer. I need to make sure we have coverage. We can always argue when it comes to the price, but if there's no coverage, there's no arguing. So the first thing is I got to keep the claim alive. I got to make sure we have the pipe, we have the photos, we have the policy for it. So to say fire, most fires are covered, except like the stories that I told you. But wind, it depends. Some people have a wind deductible, not only a hurricane deductible, some people have windstorm deductible, and that's really high. So we had someone who had with the Hartford 2 years ago, and his deductible was $48,000. His claim was $120,000.
Wow.
Like a big temple, synagogue with the round roofs.
Yes.
Yes, it was $120,000, but still, at the end of the day, minus $48,000. It was a lot. So the question is always, every claim you run differently, right? Wind is one way, and usually most policies will have wind coverage. So I can go to a very interesting topic when it comes to when water comes in from the roof. Usually when water comes in from the flat roof, they will always bring an engineer to try to deny the claim. There's rarely flat roofs are getting covered because the policy mentions there needs to be a wind-created opening. So the wind needs to create the opening. We don't really have hail in New Jersey. We did have some this year. So there's not a lot of hail claims like in Florida, Atlanta, or all those other states that has a lot of hail. Like some states have hail like a baseball. So over here, you need a wind-created opening. With shingles, it's a bit easier, especially the special form. Even if you have one shingle missing, they'll pay all the water in the house, and then they'll pay a little bit to cover the roof. So it's very hard to say how it differed because every single claim is different. If it's a flat roof, you know, most flat roofs after 8 years, they start cracking.
Yeah.
They are never covered. So if they call me on a flat roof, I'll ask pictures.
Yeah.
We do have now a flat roof in Elizabeth, $1 million roof.
Oh my God.
Where the January was a lot of winds. In the beginning of January, like between December 29, I believe the date of laws was January 1. It blew off like 20 foot, that tarp. So it means the insulation has gotten wet on the inside. So something like this is covered. So it's obviously easier to find coverage on a shingle roof than it is on a flat roof.
What is your opinion on people that get coverage? And I heard, I might be wrong, or could you get secondary insurance on top of insurance?
That's, you can have it, but that's
like backup insurance.
That's actually illegal. You cannot.
That's illegal.
You cannot get paid $500,000 from him, $500,000 from
him. I
him.
thought that there was a way that you could get. I've seen. I guess that's with health insurance, like subsidies. I thought I heard that, but I thought there was a process where you could have regular insurance, and if you want more insurance, you could get like a secondary insurance to get more coverage. I mean, but that's you're saying that's illegal.
I mean, you can have 2 policies, but now the question is going to be which policy is paying.
Okay.
Let's say you have a CHOP and you have the worst company. Wouldn't you want to go with CHOP?
Mm-hmm.
What if CHOP tells you, you had him before, please take him?
Mm.
So it's going to be actually a challenge.
So you would actually go through your insurance company to get add-ons then?
You can. It's not about add-ons. You can get, like I told you, with jewelry, it's not an add-on. You can get covered your jewelry, your silver, your gold.
So that's what I mean. You did say that.
Company.
Yeah, so you can separate insurance. Say I can have my own insurance, but then I'm also going to insure my jewelry separately so I could get that extracted off of my original insurance, saying I don't want coverage for my jewelry because I already have it with somebody else. That's legal.
Correct, because you don't want to have
points
against
so
your
policy go up. Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
So It's always to try to protect your policy, and you don't want to lose a policy, because in Florida, when houses used to be cheap,
When they were cheap, yes, when it used to be cheap.
correct. So Florida, when you have especially older to middle-aged people, a lot of their houses are paid off. I mean, houses used to be $140.
Yeah, yes, 120. I seen 70,000.
I mean, it's not that long ago. We're
No,
talking about less
no.
than 15 years ago, 10 years
in
ago.
Tampa.
I mean, Tampa, my aunt
Now it's
lives.
like one of the biggest growing cities. So.
My aunt sold her house for 380, and when she decided to move back, she already paid 560.
I believe it.
So we're talking about Tampa went up tremendous, but
Yes.
most older people do not have the finances to have simple insurance in Florida. Florida is going through a crisis, so they basically changed a lot of the laws in Florida. This year, September, it's very hard a public adjuster to work with an attorney. I mean, they changed a lot. The whole
And how where do you believe these changes start from? I mean, is there special interest groups that help insurance companies? Because it sounds like they're really running the show. I mean, to me, I mean, I'm sure that lobbyists want certain things done for certain companies, and it just sounds so unfair to me, man. It's like always the little guy has to suffer.
So funny ask, it's gonna get a little. Obviously, I don't.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, this is obviously gonna stay forever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many people watch it now. I know in a few weeks it's gonna have a lot of views. So the challenge that you run again, there's one company who actually profited $6 billion, and they still went bankrupt.
What?
Yes. So insurance is the only company where you can profit in the billions and still go bankrupt. Welcome to the world of insurance. Just like you see now with banks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even if the banks like Signatures didn't have a loss yet, but that company needed $11 billion to all the risk that they take is $11 billion. But they only made 6. So if everything goes to shit, they need $11 billion. So insurance is the only company, remember, they are banks. So they need to have enough money what they promise they are insuring.
Yeah, but with banks, they have federal, the federal government backs up the bank to, insure your money.
There's no.
So that doesn't, there's none of that in insurance.
So basically the government forced them out. If you go, I mean, my question was to them really simple. Why don't you quit a few states and insure only the $6 billion? Why did you leave every single state? Florida is running into a problem that they lost almost 21 companies in the last 2-3 years.
There's no competition.
Louisiana was a perfect state. They took years money from insurance companies, right? They took premiums. Now there's a few hurricanes there. Oh, no, we don't want to.
No more flood insurance.
I mean, in Louisiana, we don't cover anymore. Almost everybody left Louisiana.
Wow.
We're talking about Nationwide is there, State Farm is there, and a few small companies. All other companies left.
Wait a second. Isn't it by law that Americans have to have insurance? I mean, it's
a privately owned company. You cannot tell any insurance company, by the way, stay in Oklahoma, stay in Texas.
So, I mean, that's to me, it seems like, okay, these are private companies, but they also have an obligation to be, if you're going to be in business and you're going to offer insurance, but then you get to tic-tac and play tic-tac and say, well, I don't want to insure this because I'm going to lose. So let's say, is there a possibility that all insurance companies could leave a state and that state could be insured with no insurance?
Yes.
Then who takes over, the state?
So every state, I don't know if people talk about it, every state has insurance company. New York State has an insurance company. You will not believe. It's very hard to deal with them. They just don't want to pay. If you think the insurance company is bad, the state insurance company.
It's worse. Anything ran by the state is
in Florida
so
has a company
difficult.
called Citizen, Florida. So Citizen Insurance is the state. I mean, I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Citizen with the Florida state. So every state has insurance. It's very tough to deal with. I would rather have State Farm or Allstate than have the city. I mean, when you have the city, you figure out that Allstate and State Farm are not that bad. So I would definitely have a local, but State Farm is almost in every state. Allstate is almost in every state. But the challenge is
that's it. There's some states that you don't have much to pick from.
Correct. Like a state like Louisiana, almost every company left, and it was
And
so
the
tough.
competition just leaves, and then now you're the only one there. So now you could just raise your prices to whatever.
Correct. So let's talk about in those states. There's a lot of big, like they make those complexes.
Hmm.
So
Housing communities.
correct. So or you live alone, or you have
Gated
like
communities.
small buildings, like 20 apartments, another 20 apartments.
Yeah.
Talking about 1,000 units, sometimes 1,500. They used to pay the premium around $180,000, right? But right now, their premiums can go for $500,000. So Nationwide is still the cheapest carrier when it comes to this.
Yes.
But if you put in claims and you lose that privilege, you're basically could go up to $400,000-$500,000 with a different company. So that's why I recommend some people from those states, because we are licensed in we're licensed in Tennessee. We're licensed in the Carolina license. South Carolina I gave up because I'm trying to do less traveling.
Mhm.
So last week I went to Missouri. I mean, there is still 7 states that do not allow public adjusters, like
Oh, they don't
Alabama.
allow public
you
adjusters.
can actually be put technically in prison and fined. If you are in Arkansas doing a claim, you can be fined. Arkansas doesn't allow it. Alabama doesn't allow it. I believe Hawaii doesn't allow it.
And how
Alaska.
come do you think they don't allow public adjusters?
You know, Texas till 2007 didn't allow public adjusters, so it's fairly new even in Texas. Why don't they allow public
yeah, why?
adjusters?
Because public adjusters is fairly a new thing to them, or
So it's a very long history when it comes to public adjusters. The reason is, why do you need a public adjuster? Why shouldn't the insurance company? There is a lot of whys in this business.
Mhm.
How can the insurance company write their own estimates?
Yeah.
How is that fair? The person writing the check, writing the estimates. And this is one of my first teacher, Carl Spoon, always mentions this, like, how and why do you allow the insurance company to write their own estimate? Because if my interest is to you, then I'm going to write it as little as possible. So it's a big conflict of interest. So when you look at the 90s and the 80s, all of the fraud that went on, this is when public adjusters got a bad reputation, is in the 80s and the 90s. But the insurance company always makes sure that you're not going to forget the bad reputation. They also forget that they were involved. A public adjuster couldn't do it alone. They needed people on the inside.
Mm.
I mean, we're talking about in 1990 when Rudy Giuliani arrested about 30 or 36 people.
Mm.
So it wasn't just one person.
Yeah.
There was like 10 public adjusters and all others worked for the insurance company.
Oh, wow. So they got a bad reputation, and so you have some states that are like, we don't want that.
So I'm thinking that this is what holds it back. They also believe that public adjusters delay claims.
Mm.
It does delay a little bit, because when you ask for a lot, then they're going to try to delay to make the homeowner impatient. So my job is to keep the homeowner, preparing him that, look, I can give you a scenario, a small claim, where you get 30,000 or you get 400,000. Same claim, 30 and there's 400. They don't like when people have knowledge. When people have knowledge, they get paid. When people don't have knowledge, they'll take anything. Most people believe that the carrier has their best interests. Look, we're in good hands. Shake, you don't have to take a bubble bath, right? You don't have to call your mother, or so they have all these lingos, and you have to ask yourself, why does an average insurance company spend $500 million on ads? Because let's say I know you well, and we go to the bar, I tell you, look, Allstate is the worst. You see so many good press on Allstate in your head. It doesn't matter what I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to take all the negativity, all the people that they do bad by.
Mm-hmm.
I have now a lady emailed me, look, they denied my claim because they saying it's a mold problem. It's not a mold problem. A pipe bursted, and the pipe costed mold. So the pipe is the first, and the after effect is mold.
Secondary, yeah.
But because she did not report it right, she told them, I don't know what it is. I see mold. So she was busy always
so
with the mold.
sad.
So her claim got denied because of mold. She never mentioned the pipe. So there's a lot of different ways.
Could you have helped her as a adjuster?
I could have known right away from the second you move the fridge and you see the ice machine is leaking.
So that's why we need public adjusters.
Or someone like us. Maybe, like I told you, the best service that I saw is public adjusters and family-owned restoration companies like yourself looking for the truth versus big companies saying, yeah, she's saying mold and we're focusing on mold.
Yeah.
So the cause of origin, to open coverage, you need to make sure that you have a cause. After that, you can get, I'm going to give you one last example where it's not good to have those big companies. So let's say you have a kitchen. Behind kitchens, there's always pipes. There's a lot of pipes. And all the big companies like Allstate, State Farm, Liberty, and Farmers, those 4 companies specific, let's say your pipe is leaking now for a month, 2 months, but you don't see it yet. The other companies will pay you on the date of the discovery. So let's say I discover it today, the 9th, time starts from now. But those 4 companies will try to deny it because they're saying it's a maintenance problem. But you never knew that you have a problem. So now we have to break open the whole kitchen. They're going to deny it because the pipe has been leaking for more than 14 days. So the way some lawyers will try to fight it, but the first 13 days I'm covered, right? So don't pay me from 14 and up. You understand? Just pay me the first 13 days. So this is how some lawyers or public adjusters will try to fight it. But the challenge is you have those companies and something like a kitchen goes bad, and now you're going to get a nice denial letter because we are sure this has been going on more than 14 days. They are not going to say anything like 6 months or 3 months because then they're going to challenge, how do you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So they use the wording more than, so you understand, insurance has to be sudden and accidental. It cannot really be something that has been going on. So most flat roofs, they say it's maintenance. So when a pipe is leaking and you don't know, you should not be punished.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. That is a messed up thing. So to be an adjuster, it sounds like you have to be educated in a lot of different aspects of accidents, like the water, fire, wind, or weather damage, and you have to know a lot about those situations and what that individual needs. Like, so you're educated and you have the intelligence to know that, okay, you're going to need this many wind blowers and this many dehumidifiers. You're going to need this company that's going to be able to get all this junk out of here. And, so it sounds like more, that you have to be educated. How do you keep yourself updated on the insurance game?
So basically, there's people who are more educated than me, who have more time than me. I believe most public adjusters who are not educated after 5 years is the basic fact they do not go to those classes. Yeah. There's a lot of classes, even if you gain one thing, I can shoot out names. There's a guy, David Sweet. His expertise is the IICRC. So I bought his class, only online class, for $1,500. So I got myself educated. What is the IICRC? Why are they there? How do they help us? There's a new competition. They're growing fast, like Uber and Lyft, called RIA.
RIA.
So I never took their class. Now my goal is I want to see they are supposed to be more extreme than the IICRC. So they're think about liberals and Democrats. They're more IICRC is more on the easy side and RIA is more like the aggressive, and this is how it's going to get done. I want to see what they're saying, but most insurance companies follow the IICRC. Even if I'm not going to follow too much the IRA, I still want to know what their opinion is. So obviously, Kyle Spoon is a great class. He teaches you to keep a real good folder. I'm going to explain to you why that's important. So his folder, every time your folder is good, you right away are able to send it to a lawyer. If it takes you more than 5 minutes to send to a lawyer.
And explain to everybody, what is a folder?
So basically,
all the content.
When you have a claim, we use Claim Wizard, and in Claim Wizard, there is
a software. Claim Wizard is a software.
So we give access to the homeowner to see everything we do and read all the notes. So it's very important for a homeowner to understand how many times a week we call the insurance company.
It's kind of like you itemize it. Like,
Correct.
Nice.
So our estimate, their estimates, our rebuttal, their rebuttal. We really try to keep things as neat as possible.
Nice.
So, like, what did we speak to the adjuster when we were at the loss? We record with the insurance company every phone call. We have Ring Central, because what they will say on the phone and what they put in writing, because in writing they have consequence, on the phone they don't. But it's still good in case it has to go legal. We have it.
Always have recorded.
Like Allstate once promised us coverage over the phone, and in writing they denied it. So we were able to overturn it based on the phone conversations.
Good.
One of the laws called estoppel. You cannot tell me to break someone's house and then say, oh, by the way, there's no coverage. So we relied on their saying yes. So there's basically a folder. So Carl Spoon is really important to keep your, I mean, in Texas, it's very easy to go to court, to litigation.
Yeah.
Versus New York and New Jersey. I don't recommend it a lot, because in Texas, it comes from the insurance company. Over here, it comes from your pocket.
Jeez.
So to pay now me and a lawyer, so usually arbitration is a better way to go.
Yeah.
Arbitration is like, it's called appraisal, because it takes faster. It can take 1 or 2 months versus.
Kind of like settling out.
Correct. So we also need to understand what we're looking for. Yesterday, we finished an appraisal with Jake. Obviously, we needed a full roof. So whatever, what you cannot get there, you can get there. So there's a big conversation. So the folder, so when you train yourself, it's very important that your documents is to be neat as possible. It's hard as a public adjuster, because when we meet someone, we have a lot of running around. So it's hard to keep everything. So that's why we have like 3 people in the office, to help out, to keep everything neat. And there is Matthew Mulholland as a teacher. He explains everything more deeper. So if you like anything regarding claims and going the depth of everything, he is great to.
And so this is what you do to keep your knowledge. You watch, I believe you study to keep updated, and these are kind of like your mentors in a way.
Everybody, anybody that educates me is technically my mentor.
Nice.
So I have a lot of mentors, but they are the foundation from what I saw, because in New York and New Jersey, most public adjusters are older, middle-aged people. There's not a lot of young public adjusters. So what's the difference? An old public adjuster will email, not a lot. So because they're used to the phone. So they'll send their contract an email, they'll send their estimate an email, and they'll get back an email from the insurance company. On average, I just saw a denial from a different PA. There was like 3 emails: his contract, the estimate, and the denial. Like, where is the back and forth? But because he became a public adjuster in 1991, they still allow him to use the phone.
Oh, wow.
We actually write rebuttals.
Yes.
So you understand the difference?
Yes.
We try to keep everything in writing.
Yeah.
Versus, so we like to send, if we have 49 emails back and forth or 150 emails back and forth, we want to make sure that take an estimate A, take an estimate B, in writing the insurance company why we believe it is category 3. Yes, it started as a category 1 pipe, but the owner saw it a week later. So because there's some tests we can take with iGenesis, it's called the IEP. So it depends on every single claim, on what the owner is looking. If the owner has a kid that has asthma, so mold is our number 1 concern.
Sure.
And bacteria, because it's the breeding of the child. If there's older people, old doesn't mean old. Older, I mean 55 and up. We will be concerned. If they're young kids younger than 8, we'll be concerned. But if it's a husband and wife and they're both in their 30s and they're both healthy and they're working out, there's no point of me being too much concerned to mold. Of course, it's a concern, but it's not going to be, we need a $1,500 test.
Yes, to figure out what kind of mold it is. Because anybody, I worked in the water restoration business even when I was younger, before I even had one, but I'm more into the garbage removal. But like I said, you have to be educated. We took classes, and you have to know like what kind of mold. There could be black mold, green mold, all types of mold. There's deadly mold. Correct. So, there's a lot of people that are in the water restoration business that don't even know what kind of mold it is, So it's good to, have the knowledge of knowing what, yeah. So yeah, it's good to know the knowledge.
So I'm gonna show you for a rebuild contract we wrote. This is basically a rebuttal in red. This is basically what the insurance claims, and this is the answers we did.
Oh wow.
So going back to the questions we show them the actual damage.
Yes.
So you asked a very good question to start when we spoke about chat, right? So we do use now, the last 3 weeks, I found out what ChatGPT is.
Oh, ChatGPT. So yeah, before we go any further, we always talk on our show about technology. Correct. Because we use, technology as best we can and as efficient for our customers and for better customer service, but we use it positive. Everything is, private, and we do it very efficiently. And I wanted to ask you, since you see technology is making a huge shift, there's a revolutionizing technology rise in America that people are just not ready for just yet, and it's going to happen regardless. And where do you see technology in your company going in the next few years? Do you believe that ChatGPT will be a help to you?
ChatGPT has
and AI
helped us.
assistance?
Yeah, so it helped us tremendously the last 3 weeks since we found what it is.
Wow. Just discovered it in the last 3
correct.
weeks is amazing.
So the way we used to write letters and asking Chat, how do you think a lawyer would have written it?
Yes.
How do you think a public adjuster would have written it?
Or you could say, write it out like a lawyer of this caliber,
correct.
or this education, or make this understandable by a 5-year-old, or it's just amazing. Or create a table and have my diet. You could even take like your blood work, and going off subject, but you could take your blood work, copy and paste it, put it in a ChatGPT, because your doctor didn't explain your blood work to you because there's so much there, and it will break it down. And then you can tell, what kind of diet should I go on? And it'll break it down.
I will not ask that.
Yep,
No,
you don't. No, you don't even have to do all that. You can actually hit your mic button and just talk right into the prompt, and it works beautifully.
So we have written to a certain company that they wanted to deny the mold. We have written proving that it's in there. And 3 weeks ago, when someone told me the free version we use now,
Playground
Nova, like, how can you rewrite it to make it look professional?
So you're using the actual paid version now?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So you have ChatGPT 4.
Is it 4? It's an app called Nova. I really enjoy it.
Oh, you should open up OpenAI. OpenAI is the original. They're the ones that created that company. They're just using the API from the company OpenAI, which open up an account with OpenAI so you can use ChatGPT 4, which I'm sure they're probably utilizing and charging you.
I don't think that our business is ever gonna take technology. Because
it's not going to take technology.
No, I'm going to tell you why. It's very simple. 1 + 1 = 2. We will never lose. Machines are never going to be able to schlep in. Like, you can make the machine schlep down to a basement on one home, right? But you cannot prepare every single home is going to have the technology. So a restoration company will need people to cut. Like, let's say only one house will have always claims. So the insurance company can build in a restoration company right there, but they cannot go every single house in Union and Essex. Employees are always going to be in this business. Number 2, in COVID, when they tried with the virtual, it didn't go.
Yeah,
because what you see on the phone
is different in person. Yes,
like, you can deny a claim in person. You will never be able to deny. They actually, in my belief, because they stopped it, they probably lost millions of dollars in paying out, because let's say there's a lot of mold over here and I stand over here. There's so much. I don't think I applaud the negotiation part. It's much easier to send someone out.
Yeah, like, the technology I'm talking about, like ChatGPT is right now is in its infant form right now. This new technology, AI and AGI and all this assistance, this is going to, and metaverse and all this stuff is just in its infant form. Vita made the actual supercomputer for OpenAI.
Example, not to cut you off. there's AI that can call now to make a pizza,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So let's say for all purposes, you tell your secretary you don't need her. Your AI is going to make 10 phone calls. Someone needs to be on top of the 10 phone calls, right? So you still need her to make sure, look, yes, AI called ABC, this is what they answered, but who's going to put it in a computer? Like, you don't have time for
No,
every
there's
single
automation.
thing.
Yeah, no, there's automation that will put it in a computer. That's why software engineers and know what they're doing as far as that
Now, I'm
goes.
not
But
saying
there's
maybe their job. So let's say we just need an update, right?
yeah,
I can tell Nova, whatever. I can tell the phone to make the phone call, right, for an
Yeah.
update. But someone still needs to update the homeowner.
yeah, you gotta
Human
just
loop.
that's human in the loop. That's it's called human in the loop. Yes.
People still want the human connection.
Yes.
It is hard.
And this is evolving, believe
So
me.
I'm going to tell you, for a public adjuster who does the scoping and the Manaport, we do Manaport.
I don't think it's going to replace people. I think it's going to enhance people. It's going to educate people even better. It's going to get the information to you faster. We actually went over our time, but I want to ask one last question.
The time is,
yeah, we did talk.
Whenever you bring a public adjuster,
That's fine.
We can talk all day.
That's fine, and we love to talk. And I want actually one last question. So, Joel, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years in your business, and what do you want to accomplish with what you're doing?
So, obviously, my goal is not to be the biggest. My goal is to be the best and having enough big jobs that pay the bill. I'm not looking for 700-800 claims a year. I'm looking basically for legit claims and claims that we can make an impact. If someone has already the damage there for 4 years. So we're basically looking to build a company big enough, but then small enough. I don't like running companies with 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many egos you have to feed.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be the ego, but there is enough money for me and to be a mid-sized company. So obviously it's very hard to find employees in New York and New Jersey. I would love to say I have 7 people.
Yeah.
I mean, we train 3 people and spend $20,000 a person.
And then they get fired.
Unfortunately,
or
one
quit.
went to, not a lot of people actually. One went to OnlyFans. Okay. And I was very disappointed because I figured out what OnlyFans was back then. And I was not a happy camper. I'm happy to say she's off and will come back a little bit to do some work for me. The other one was just didn't want to put in the hours. You can get a phone call 1 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and it's very frustrating to. The challenge is with the old school people, they're willing to work 20 hours a day.
Yes.
The new school people are smart enough that they're going to die one day. So they want everything on a plate.
Yes.
So they want to work 8 hours. Do not call me after 5:01.
Yeah.
And it's a very big challenge because I
why
could be slow for 8 hours.
That's why technology is going to start filling up that gap, and it's just happening. I'm telling you, there's things that used to take us months to do, and we're able to do it in minutes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you where technology came in. So I can catch pictures and go to a program and get a countdown list in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So you click on the shirt, Google knows which shirt it is.
Yes.
So I don't need anymore to get someone for $10,000 to do a whole fire. The problem is if there is no lighting, I still need someone to send down. So we have someone in the business. It's actually the 4th one. She works part-time for me. She does for us our inventory. So you still need the human inventory.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I still did $150,000 estimate just with the Manaport. We went into the Manaport, Google every picture they know. Even if you put your picture in the Google, it will still come back, like knowing if you're somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So when we put in any shirt, any dress, we can just make an Excel sheet. Click, average price. The program is called In a Circle.
Mm-hmm.
So we click on the picture, we put it in. We click on the picture, we put it in.
And there you see the technology now is starting to come seep into your, and it's going to make you more efficient and give you more time to do other things. And it's just amazing what we have accomplished with our team. We are a small company, 3 people in office, and then we have about 6 full-time employees out there working and picking up garbage. And without the technology that we have, and we didn't utilize that with the logistics and it's just amazing. And I think that the future is going to be technology, people. We all see it. We see what Sam Altman is doing with OpenAI, the company OpenAI that created ChatGPT. And we see what's happening with Midjourney and generative AI photos that look so real you cannot even tell the difference. Times are going to change very rapidly. I believe that is going to enhance our abilities to do our jobs better. So with that said, here with me, Chris Rose, with Jump Doctors NJ, with Joel for Follman, sorry.
It's a Polish name.
No, you actually have a very easy
Yeah.
last name for Nothing against anybody Polish. But usually you got people. My best friend was Polish growing up. He had the longest Polish name, I think. Wowski, like 11 letters in his last name.
Sometimes a lot of Russian Ukraine moved down to Poland, but usually Polish was all the mints they say comes from like Friedman, Goldman, supposedly started in Poland. All those hard legs,
Really?
I think it's Ukraine. They just decided to move down from the top, going to Poland.
Nice. That's a great, and this is a great episode here, and it was very learning and educative. And I'm very happy that you came up. I want you to stay in touch with us. Thank you for coming up and doing the interview. You could promote your company and say whatever you want before we get off. And
Your website URL.
Yeah, so basically, Joel from JF Justice, if you have any claim previously who got denied or underpaid, we can advise you. I'm not saying that we will take it on, but if you have any question, obviously advice is free. If I can help you without taking you on as a client, I will help you on. If you need any information, our website has videos. A lot more is coming up.
And that will be in the link attached to this actual video.
And if you have any question, even if it's not in the state, if I'm able to help you out or guide you what to do, like we spoke earlier, every state is different. My website is jfpublicadjusters.com. And if you want to reach me, it's joel@jfpublicadjusters.com, or you can reach me at 917-272-8793. Thank you.
Beautifully said. Thank you very much. And to everybody, have a great day and keep on doing your business, your entrepreneurship, and just keep on working hard. Hard work pays off. And we'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.